In this video I will break down the lighting I used for this job I recently did for Stella Artois, as well as some tips and tricks I used to add some more depth to the piece. Let's light this scene up. Shoo! So in Cinema 4D, and this is our scene. I'm just going to quickly dive out of the camera just to give you guys another look at the setup we have. And you can see there's not much to it. We've got a forester tree giving us some nice kind of shading in the background. You can kind of see the foliage. And then we have a wall which is just for the cream color in the background, and then the rest is all lighting. So let's go through this let's go through these lights one by one, and then we're also going to finish off with a little trick I used to kind of create this green haze, and to be honest it actually makes up the majority of the shot, so hopefully that'll be interesting for you guys to see. So let's just disable everything. We'll go through this step by step. So we started off with our good old liquid light. This typically is a dome light, and if you have watched my bottle process video recently, you'll kind of know my approach to lighting these bottle scenes. I'll usually use a dome light to create the really nice refractions in the liquid. So at the moment you can see we're getting that really nice glow on the left hand side, and actually we would see it throughout the rest of the bottle, but it's being cut off from the wall in the background. So you can see if I disabled that, you can see that we already start to get some more of that liquid color come in. So if you really wanted to, you could actually create multiple passes from this, but I was able to kind of capture the look I wanted in one shot. But you can kind of just see how having like a background in there really does affect how much light is being shone through the back of the bottle. So anyway, yeah, we're using a dome light for this one, and we're actually using the Studio Small 05 by HDRI Haven. Really good website for free HDRIs, and they also have textures on there as well, so I'll put a link in the description for that. But essentially just kind of rotate this dome light around, and you can see how this is affecting our bottle. But you'll also notice how it's not actually affecting the label at all. Even when we're shining it through kind of from the front, everything else is completely black. And if I just undo this a couple times to get us back to our original spot, let's dive into the settings and I'll show you why. So if we dive into the details tab, you can see that I've actually disabled diffuse and reflection, and then also I've just made it so that it includes just the bottle. So this way all we're doing is we're getting like the transmission and the refraction from this, and that way we can actually light the label with separate lights. So if we just enable the second one, this is our warm light diffuse, warm left diffuse, there we go, that's what the AL stands for, and this is where we're starting to light the label. So we're using just an area light for this, and we're using one of the good old Grayscale Gorilla gradient textures. Again, you could probably just build this yourself from scratch, it's nothing fancy, but you can see we've also changed the mode to color and temperature. So this way you can actually tint the original texture, and you can see I've just tinted it to be slightly green, and the reason for this is just to kind of blend it in with the rest of the environment that I was building. You know, we had the trees in the background giving us that green foliage, and once we add the haze, that kind of was helping to add that greenness to the scene as well. So I kind of wanted to just blend everything together. So by just adding that subtle tint, you can kind of see if I just put it back to color, should take that tint away, or maybe I'll do it manually. There we go. You kind of lose some of that color, and now it feels a bit warmer and it just doesn't blend itself as well. So I just changed that to color and temperature, and yeah, just changed that to a green, and then I also changed the temperature to 5500 here, so that actually makes it a little bit warmer. So you can see if I put that to something like 6500, that's going to start to have a bit of a cooler tone to it. So we've tinted it green, and then we've also made the overall tint a little bit warmer as well. And you can see obviously you can play with this. I've set this up in a good spot, but what I was trying to do here is just give it like a nice soft diffused light coming from the left hand side, and then what we're now going to do is actually use another light to just fill the rest of the label. So now it looks a little bit blown out, but when we start to stack the other lights on there, it kind of does actually work well together. But yeah, at the moment it looks a little bit whack. So let's have a look at this label diffuse, and this is pretty much just hitting the bottle straight on, and this time we're using this gradient jewel texture, which to be honest I don't know if it's really making that much of a difference. You can see if I disable it, yeah, it doesn't really look too much different. It just kind of it just kind of dims it a little bit, which is cool. But yeah, this was just to fill the rest of the label, but we still have a slight fall off here to the left hand side, which is nice and helps to give you that depth on the bottle. You can see if I move this around to the left and fill that left hand side, now it looks completely flat. You want to create even just a little bit of depth, and just by having that kind of fall off on the left hand side just helps to give the viewer the impression that, you know, this is a curved object and that it does have some depth to it. So this is a pretty simple area light, like I said, just hitting the bottle straight on. And what we're going to start to do now is just dial in some more detail into the label. So we're going to use the next light, which is just affecting the reflections. So you can see if I go to the details tab, I've disabled diffuse. So this is just affecting the specular and the reflections of the label. So if I just untick everything else, you should see that this is now only kind of, you know, like I said, for like the 5th time, affecting the reflections of the label. And in the project tab, I've actually done nothing, but because I've moved it so close to the bottle, it's not really hitting anything else anyway, and it's actually giving us some nice kind of reflections towards the bottom of the bottle as well, which is cool and it works. So when we start to stack that on top of the other lights we built, there we go. You can see now we're starting to dial in that detail. And essentially this is what I did for the remainder of the lights. So I added another one here, and this is actually kind of like just a secondary reflection over the top. So if I just disable that, you can kind of see it just is boosting this left hand side ever so slightly. I'll just solo that out so you can see what's going on. But yeah, this is just adding some more reflection, especially to this gold part here. And this light is just kind of like a big one to the left hand side. You can see if I move this around, it's given us quite a nice result, just helping to add some more glossiness to our label. And we're just using the gradient HDRI again for this area light, and to be honest, I think I've used this for pretty much all of them. It just helps to give you a nice fall off and just makes everything feel a lot softer. So we're starting to stack these up, really starting to kind of dial in that detail, and we're going to do the same on the right hand side. So let's have a look. This one is just adding a nice reflection over here, and then one more just for good luck, just to really boost those reflections on the right hand side. This is the result we're getting now. So now this has really come a long way just from using these additional lights. You can see this was what the label looked like before, and you can see actually if I go in here and enable reflection, this is what it looked like, and this is why I tend to try to use different lights to really focus on specific areas, because whilst this light hitting it from the front is helping to illuminate the label, it's not giving us very nice reflections, which is why I disabled it and then used additional lights purely for the reflection. So this has given us a really nice result, and like I said earlier in the video, the final piece of the puzzle for this was this final kind of plane I used here to really add the haze to the scene and just tie everything together. It helps to add that greenness to the bottle and to the liquid, and just add some more depth to the scene. So let's have a look at what is going on here, and let's show it in the viewport. So what I've actually done here is it's quite a nice setup actually. I've built a plane and I've added a displacer to it. So it's what it looked like before. Added a little displacer by just adding a noise in here and just displacing it by 2 centimeters. And the reason for this is because of the material we have built. So let's dive into that quickly. And again, super simple setup. So essentially what we're doing here is I'm using the for now node. So if I just output this to the surface, basically what this is going to do is take the angles of our object and almost like the curvature and give us a white to black map based on that. So what I've then done is I've remapped this. So I've put a ramp node and just added some more contrast and inverted it. And now if we look through our camera, because we're using bokeh, we're getting like a really soft finish. And what we're actually doing is we're using this for now and this ramp, and we're plugging it into the opacity. So essentially some areas are going to be visible and some areas are going to be completely transparent. And when we mix that with the bokeh we have on our camera, you can see, oh, hold on, let me back it up. This would be easier to demonstrate. You can see how this is working now by plugging this into the opacity color. You can see we're getting areas of just where there's nothing and then areas of that greenness. So when we jump into the camera and we add the bokeh, which we've enabled, it's going to blur that, and we're going to get some cool, interesting shapes of this green haze. And I actually use this throughout the film to just add some haze to the different shots, and it just helps to bring everything to life. So hopefully you guys found this breakdown helpful. Let me know in the comment section down below if there's anything else you want me to cover from this project, because there's a bunch of other shots I've done that I would be more than happy to talk about. And yeah, thank you again for watching and for all the love and support on the recent videos. I really appreciate it. And until next time, peace.